The Ivanpah Solar Electric Generating System is a concentrated solar thermal plant in the California Mojave Desert, 64 kilometers southwest of Las Vegas. With a gross capacity of 392 megawatts, it deploys 173,500 heliostats, each with 2 mirrors, focusing solar energy on boilers located on 3 centralized solar power towers. Unit 1 of the project was connected to the grid in September 2013 in an initial sync testing. The facility formally opened on February 13, 2014, and it is currently the world's largest solar thermal power station. The project was developed by Bright Source Energy and Bechtel. It cost $2.2 billion. The largest investor in the project is NRG Energy, a power generating company based in Princeton, New Jersey, that has contributed $300 million. Google has contributed $168 million. The U.S. government provided a $1.6 billion loan guarantee, and the plant is built on public land. In 2010, the project was scaled back from the original 440 megawatts design to avoid building on the habitat of the desert tortoise. In November 2014, Associated Press reported that the plant was producing only about half of its expected annual output. The California Energy Commission issued a statement blaming this on clouds, jet contrails and weather. Performance improved considerably in 2015 to about 650 gigawatt-hours, but ownership partner NRG Energy said in its November quarterly report that Ivanpah would likely not meet its contractual obligations to provide power to PG&E during the year, raising the risk of default on its power purchase agreement. PG&E contracted to receive 640 gigawatt-hours per year from Units 1 and 3, while SCE is supposed to receive 336 gigawatt-hours from Unit 2, for which they pay about $200 per MWh. In March 2016, PG&E agreed not to declare the plant in default for at least 4 months, in return for an undisclosed sum from the owners. Description: the Ivanpah Solar Electric Generating System consists of 3 solar thermal power plants on a 4,000 acres tract of public land near the Mojave Desert and the California-Nevada border in the southwestern United States near Interstate 15 and north of Ivanpah, California. The site is visible from adjacent Mojave National Preserve, Mesquite Wilderness, and State Line Wilderness. The facility consists of fields of heliostat mirrors focusing sunlight on receivers located on centralized solar power towers. The receivers generate steam to drive specially adapted steam turbines. For the first plant, the largest ever fully solar-powered steam turbine generator set was ordered, using a 123 megawatt Siemens SSD 900 single-casing reheat turbine. Besides steam turbine generator, Siemens supplied instrumentation and control systems. Final approval was gained in October 2010. On October 27, 2010, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, Interior Secretary Ken Salazar, and other dignitaries gathered in the Mojave Desert to officially break ground on the project. The project generated controversy because of the decision to build it on ecologically intact desert habitat. The project has received a $1.6 billion loan guarantee from the U.S. Department of Energy. The total cost of the project is about $2.18 billion. The facility has contracts to sell about 2/3 of the power generated at Ivanpah to PG&E, and the rest to SCE. The largest investor in the project is NRG Energy, a generating company based in Princeton, NJ, that has put in $300 million. The project has also received an investment of $168 $28 million from Google, but in November 2011, Google announced that they would no longer invest in CSP due to the rapid price decline of photovoltaic systems, and stopped its research on the project. Awards. In August 2014, Ivanpah was awarded the Plant of the Year award from Power magazine. In February 2012, Ivanpah was awarded the CSP Project of the Year by Solar Power Generation USA. Power towers. The Ivanpah plants use bright source energies, LUS Power Tower 550 technology. The LPT 550 solar system produces electricity the same way as traditional power plants, by creating high-temperature steam to turn a turbine. Bright source uses thousands of mirrors called heliostats to reflect sunlight onto a receiver being developed by Riley Powering, filled with water that sits atop a tower. When the sunlight hits the receiver, the water inside is heated and creates high-temperature steam. The steam is then piped to a conventional turbine, which generates electricity. Additionally, the power towers have receiver units at the top on which the mirror fields focus the reflected light. During operation, these receiver units become extremely hot, such that they glow and appear brightly lit. Because they are high above the ground, these glowing receiver units will be a visible distraction to persons at many of the KOPs, including travelers utilizing I-15. According to the State of California Energy Resources Conservation and Development Commission opening briefs regarding this project, the project itself is visually imposing. It would cover roughly 4,000 acres, most of which would be covered with mirror fields. The panoramic expanse of mirror arrays would present strong textural contrast with the intact, natural character of the desert floor. Would rise to a height of roughly 459 feet. An additional 10 to 15 feet above that height would consist of lighting to meet Federal Aviation Administration requirements. Fossil fuel consumption. The plant requires burning natural gas each morning to get the plant started. The Wall Street Journal reported, instead of ramping up the plant each day before sunrise by burning 1 hour's worth of natural gas to generate steam, Ivanpah needs more than 4 times that much. On August 27, 2014, the state of California approved Ivanpah to increase its annual natural gas consumption from 328 million cubic feet of natural gas, as previously approved, to 525 million cubic feet. In 2014, the plant burned 867,740 million BTU of natural gas, emitting 46,084 metric tons of carbon dioxide, which is nearly twice the pollution threshold at which power plants and factories in California are required to participate in the state's cap-and-trade program to reduce carbon emissions. If that gas had been used in a conventional fossil fuel plant, it would have generated nearly 124,000 megawatt-hours of electrical energy. That is enough to power the annual needs of 20,660 Southern California homes. Ivanpah used that gas plus solar energy to produce 524,000 megawatt-hours of electrical energy, all while operating at well below its expected output. 2015 showed high production numbers, with Q1 increases of 170% over the same time period in 2014. In 2015, the natural gas consumption had decreased to 564,814 million BTU, while the total energy output had increased to 650 52,300 megawatt-hours. Ivanpah Solar uses two Rentec-type dewater tube boilers. The California Energy Resources Conservation and Development Commission approved for each a stack 130 feet high and 60 inches in diameter and consumption of 242,500 feet 3 per hours of fuel. Below are tables of the natural gas burned. Economic impact. Bright Source estimated that the Ivanpah facility would involve some 1,000 jobs at the peak of construction, 86 permanent jobs, and total economic benefits of $3 billion. Elected San Bernardino County Supervisor Brad Mitzelfeld, who represents most of the California Mojave Desert, stated that the project would create jobs for mostly Las Vegas and electricity for mostly San Francisco. The project received a $1.6 billion loan guarantee from the United States Department of Energy. The estimated construction costs for the project fall between the construction costs for coal and nuclear power plants, according to Synapse Energy Economics, but this does not account for the less favorable capacity factor of solar power. It was reported in November 2014 that the investors in the plant were applying for a $539 million federal grant to pay off the federal loan. Performance. In June 2015, The Wall Street Journal reported, 15 months after starting up, the plant is producing just 40% of, according to data from the U.S. Energy Department. Performance improved dramatically in the second year, as Clean Technica reported regarding Units 1 and 3 that in 2015, PG and AMP-E customers received about 97% of Ivanpah's contracted electrons, which is a massive improvement over its first year. The steam plant is designed for 28.72% gross efficiency. The local irradiance near this area is about 7.4 kilowatt-hours per meter 2 per days for a total solar energy flow in the visible spectrum of 2.717 megawatt-hours per square meter yearly. A claimed capacity factor of 31.4% implies that the plant would operate for 365 days times 24 hours times 31.4% equals 2,751 hours per year, at 377 megawatts constant power. This means a generation of 377 megawatts times 2,751 HY equals 1,037,127 megawatt-hours, by rounding up to 1.04 terawatt-hours Y. Whereas energy storage capacity is missing, it is not clear how a 31.4% capacity factor should be attained, unless a heavy natural gas contribution is taken in account. One heliostat mirror is of 75.6 square feet reflecting surface, for a total of 151.2 square feet per heliostat. Total plant heliostat reflecting surface results in 173,500 heliostats times 14.05 square meters. Heliostat equals 2,437,144 square meters. Based on irradiance, the intercepted solar energy flow is 2.717 megawatt-hours per meter 2 per year times 2,437,144 square meters equals 6,621,720 megawatt-hours yearly. Thermal yield, after taking into consideration reflection, transmission, radiation and absorption losses, assumed about 55%, resulting in a thermal power input to the steam turbines of 6,621,720 megawatt-hours times 55% equals 3,641,946 megawatts HTH. Resulting expected energy output would be 3,641,946 megawatts HTH times 28.72% efficiency equals 1,045,967 megawatt-hours Y, rounding up to 1.05 terawatt-hours Y. May 2016 industrial accident. A small fire was reported on the 19th of May 2016 when misaligned mirrors reflected sunlight into a level of Unit 3 tower not designed to collect power, shutting down the tower for repairs. As another of the 3 power-generating units was already offline for scheduled maintenance, the plant was left with only one-third of its installation functional. Unit 3 resumed operation on June 8, 2016. Within 3 weeks of the incident, all 3 units seemed back in operation by June 20, 2016. Solar thermal electricity production in California peaked at 703 megawatts on the day, up from 452 megawatts on June 7 when 2 units were offline. Environmental impact. The Ivanpah installation was estimated before operations started to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by more than 400,000 tons annually. It was designed to minimize impacts on the natural environment compared to some photovoltaic solar facilities because the use of heliostats does not require as much grading of the land. However, the facilities are fenced off to keep some terrestrial wildlife out, and initial studies indicate that birds face the risk of collision with the heliostat mirrors or from burning in solar flux created by the mirror field. In 2012, the National Parks Conservation Association issued a report on the project, citing water concerns, damage to visual resources, and impacts on important desert species. In order to conserve scarce desert water, LPT 550 uses air cooling to convert the steam back into water. Compared to conventional wet cooling, this results in a 90% reduction in water usage. The water is then returned to the boiler in a closed process. Another potential issue that has been reported is the effect of mirror glare on airplane pilots. Desert tortoise. The Ivanpah solar power project was built on 6 square miles of public land in the south-central Mojave Desert. Project construction was temporarily halted in the spring of 2011 due to the suspected impacts on desert tortoises. Construction resumed when the United States Fish and Wildlife Service found the project was not likely to jeopardize the endangered desert tortoise. Bright Source also installed fencing to keep wildlife out of the area. In 2010, the project was scaled back from the original 440 megawatts design to avoid building on the habitat of the desert tortoise. Many desert tortoises found on the site were relocated to other parts of the Mojave Desert. However, environmentalists raised concerns that relocated tortoises were more likely to die due to the stresses involved. Birds. During the trial of the plant in September 2013, 34 dead birds were found at the plant, 15 of which had heavily burned feathers, which staff at the plant referred to as streamers because they were burned in flight by the intense radiation from the heliostat mirrors. From February through June 2014, a team of biologists monitoring the number of bird deaths reported a total of 290. According to a USFWS report in April 2014, 141 birds, including peregrine falcon, barn owl and yellow-rumped warbler, were collected at Ivanpah in October 2013, and 47 of the deaths were attributed to solar flux. According to a report by the Associated Press, Ivanpah might act as a mega-trap for wildlife, with the bright light of the plant attracting insects, which in turn attract insect-eating birds that fly to their death in the intensely focused light rays. Possible bird kill mitigation strategies are being considered, such as using proven, environmentally safe technologies such as avian radars and LRADs to keep birds away from the site, covering ponds to discourage water birds from loitering, and clearing additional land around the plant to make it less attractive and more visible to birds in flight. In April 2015, biologists working for the state estimated that 3,500 birds died at Ivanpah in the span of a year, many of them burned alive while flying through part of the solar installment where air temperatures can reach 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, reported The Wall Street Journal. In late 2015, BrightSource released the results of the first full year of monitoring bird and bat deaths at the Ivanpah solar plant. The company reported that during a year of study supervised by the California Division of Wildlife, the number of observed bird deaths, adjusted upward to account for inefficiencies of the carcass counting, arrived at an estimated 3,500 bird deaths per year caused by the Ivanpah solar plant. The Ivanpah plant has taken steps to further reduce bird deaths. The initial reports of high avian casualties have been disputed ever since initial reports surfaced. In September 2014, for example, Renewable Energy World suggested, with its claim of 28,000 dead birds from Ivanpah, the Associated Press syndicated a story on every front page in America, spreading alarm about concentrated solar power plants, which was not grounded in facts, but on one opponent's speculation. Production. Ivanpah solar electric production is as follows: Ivanpah 1, Ivanpah 2, Ivanpah 3, Ivanpah total. Ivanpah was advertised as designed to produce 940,000 megawatt-hours of electricity per year, based on its nameplate capacity and assumed capacity factor. In its second year of operation, Ivanpah's production of 652,375 megawatt-hours was 69.4% of this value, ramping up from 44.6% in the first year. Fossil fuel use. Ivanpah 1, Ivanpah 2, Ivanpah 3 total near equals not reported.